Anything else there? I think we can move on to what I may call the sexy topic of the week, which has been all the talk of the investing business finance world, and that is the new Michael Lewis book, Going Infinite. I guess he doesn't need any more marketing, on SBF, and the trial's starting this week, which is exciting. Did you see the courtroom case drawings or sketches? He got a haircut. He looks like more of a criminal now. I think that was a mistake by their lawyers.
I did not. I saw some pictures, I think, of him coming out of the courtroom.
Yeah.
Right? Was it the same stuff? He got a haircut. I didn't check out his haircut too closely, to be honest. There have been a lot of interesting pictures coming out of it. There's been good coverage from the Wall Street Journal. There's a podcast out that's called The Trial of Crypto's Golden Boy. That's, I think, kept up with everything pretty well. And it kind of shares interviews from SBF from back in the day. And I've been listening to that for probably most of my coverage, and it's pretty entertaining. Did you see the list he made for dating the CEO?
I did not look at it, but I saw people were discussing it. He's a strange character. I don't think we can really, you're not guilty for being strange. I think you're guilty for being a
ethically
criminal,
compromised,
and hurting other people and stealing their money.
Okay, so let's talk about the Michael Lewis stuff.
Yeah, the book's out. He's on the press tour. What has he been saying for any of the listeners here?
Well, there's been a couple interviews now where he basically says, unlike Bernie Madoff, which was a Ponzi scheme, this was the FTX segment, the exchange, was a real legitimate business. And so was the hedge fund. And he kind of defends him in saying that if it weren't for the run on customer deposits, they'd be fine. And if it weren't for him to make risky bets in the hedge fund, he'd be fine. And he even went as far in a recent interview as to say the lawsuit against him kind of makes no sense. But what bothered, first of all, Bernie Madoff, there was a legitimate operation. They were one of the biggest market makers as well. His sons ran that on the floor below. So not entirely a Ponzi, but Bernie Madoff's operations, yes, Ponzi. There's a moment in one of the interviews with, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't the 60 Minutes one, but there's another interview where he's like, he was making big, bold, risky bets, but the lawsuit kind of makes no sense. And then he says, yeah, but he was transferring money that wasn't his, right? The interviewer asks him, he's like, well, yeah, but that's not, like, he shrugs it off. I'm like, okay, well, that's the biggest part, is that he was making risky bets with money that wasn't his.
Right.
And he seems to just kind of ignore that. The cynic in me thinks that he's getting paid a pretty penny to write the book.
I'm trying to figure it out, and I think here's actually, you finish, and then maybe I'll go through my thoughts.
Yeah, like I can't understand his perspective. I'm having a hard time doing it. Matt Levine lays out a pretty good case throughout his writing that it's going to be hard for SBF to get out of this. And Michael Lewis is kind of just omitting the lawsuit, and he's really defending him publicly, and I don't get it. If he's trying to sell, people have said, like, maybe he's trying to sell more books by having a different spin on things. If he wanted to sell more books, he would go out there and say, oh, the fraud is so much worse than you know. And he would pander to the audience which is most Americans at this point, that already don't like him because he stole people's money. He want to go out and defend him, because it's made me a little more reluctant to read the book. I don't want to get 50 pages through this thing and just be shaking my head like, why are you defending him? So
yeah, I'm not going to buy it. I am going to be buying or reading Number Go Up: Inside Crypto's Wild Rise and Staggering Fall by, sorry to the author, but his name's Zeke Fo. Zekefaux is his last name. I'll be reading that instead, as I think it's a more measured take on the crypto industry, although it might just be confirming my bias. But I am very curious on why he is so. Well, yeah, why was he so why is he defending him so much? Because it's pretty clear to everyone else that there was a big crime here unless other evidence comes to light.
Okay, from all the coverage I've seen from the Wall Street Journal, there was a direct, literally just a couple lines of code written to direct payments from FTX to Alameda. Boom.
Yeah.
That was not their money to bet. Right? Isn't that it? End of story. And they're gambling it. They're not only gambling it, but they're paying $15.7 million to Kevin O'Leary for 20 hours of work, paying $55 million to Tom Brady for a week's worth of work.
Well, that in itself is not a
giving
crime,
away
using customers' money to right. It doesn't, that's in itself not a crime, but it doesn't matter exactly what they're giving it away as. That would be just bubble behavior from a company, right? If they got it from a VC.
But what I'm saying is it wasn't theirs to give away. Not only gambling, but essentially giving it away to make Sam Bankman-Fried lifestyle better, to allow him to be in better social circles. Maybe you could call it marketing budget. But there was so much ethically wrong with this, and I don't know how Michael Lewis is just ignoring it.
Yeah. Looking back to those Super Bowl commercials, pretty wild stuff there.
Do we, first of all, shout out Taylor Swift because she turned down money from FTX?
Yeah, well, I heard that was maybe not true, that was like a fake story. It's confusing.
Really?
Yeah. I think so. I think
something that like a lawyer intervened or something and was like, ask him if these are registered securities or something. Maybe it was a fake story. But to the people that pandered this stuff, Kevin O'Leary already didn't really like him to begin with. But Tom, come on.
Well,
actually,
55 million. I don't know, man. I think it's fine.
I think anybody would.
I would do that.
Give up a week for 55 million.
Yeah,
but that is insane amounts of money for marketing. Really, was it even marketing? I don't remember the commercial, so maybe it was more just to hang out with Tom Brady for a week.
Now, remember, it was the commercials where they're saying, "Don't be like X and don't be like all these people. Everyone, you got to get into the future. Start using FTX." Yeah, I think what's key here for especially the people that were collateral damage, and it kind of maybe leads to my Michael Lewis take here, is that it's pretty, unless you follow this closely, try to research it a lot like we do. I don't think it's crazy hard to understand, but if you're just on the outside, you can go, well, this is super confusing. I don't really know. I'm just going to trust the industry people to tell me that it's okay, right? So I don't really blame all the celebrities, right? Maybe Kevin O'Leary, because he seems to be supposed to be, right, a shark on a TV show that I would not watch if you were a serious person. But
the other thing,
or go ahead,
that I found funny about the coverage, and this doesn't really have to relate to the Michael Lewis stuff, but from the Wall Street Journal coverage, something they talked about that was interesting is when FTX collapsed, they realized they had whatever, $8 billion, $9 billion hole, which they'd been paying out customers' money to Tom Brady. They created an 8 billion, I think was the final number, hole. And first of all, they were using QuickBooks. There was money that was unaccounted for. They had a hard time figuring out how much they owed. He sends a message to CZ at Binance like, fine, you won. I'll allow you to buy us. And then CZ is like, okay, we'll send our lawyers in and our accountants or our auditors. And he's like, and he determined pretty quickly that this is unbuyable. There's so much unreported here. There's a way bigger hole than people are accounting for. And CZ had called it off. Like, there's no way this is happening. Sam Bankman-Fried had no idea for like a while that Binance had called it off. That that CZ was like, no, we're not buying you. And so he sends a message kind of before it's supposed to close, like, hey, there's been a lot of rumors that you might be backing out. Just want to double check. He's like, no, like, we're not buying you.
Yeah, CZ is a, let's say, well, we'll let the courts decide, but he's been alleged of a lot of crimes as well. And I would think I would lean on the side of being guilty, but it's also TBD. We should say here. But at least he seems like he's professional, right? And he actually is trying to run some sort of business operation here. But we'll see what the hell happens with Binance. What I want to talk about with Michael Lewis, though, is I think looking back on all his different books now, if you look at Moneyball, okay, if you kind of look back on it and you follow baseball, I honestly don't think it had that big of an impact. The teams didn't actually do that well. It wasn't some sort of miracle thing. Yeah, you're using stats. Crazy. If you look back at the blind side, there's actually been stuff that's come out recently saying that the family screwed that guy and were actually terrible people, which, again, we'll see actually what comes out to be the truth, but not really good for Michael Lewis's investigative journalism there. Then there's Flash Boys, which when you read it, and you don't understand the industry, you go, dang, that's crazy. That's evil. We should get rid of this. Actually, I think the high frequency traders are providing a lot of value once you actually understand what they're doing. And now this, I just don't think he understands the stuff. And he's just being very gullible. I think that's the key here.
Does write a good story though.
Not since The Big Short.
It's not maybe not accurate.
I haven't liked any of his books since The Big Short. They're not. I think he's.
I haven't read any of them since.
He's half-assed The Big Short's great.
What's come out since The Big Short?
Tons of stuff. There's like one covering government and agencies like the Department of Energy, Flash Boys. This one, maybe one more.
Flash Boys was after.
Yeah, The Big Short. Also, The Big Short. Michael Berry. You could have talked about how he was crazy. Maybe he wasn't crazy then, but the guy, right? Like that also has come out as he is
a little politically insane.
Yeah.
It hasn't come out. He just started tweeting and everyone's like, oh my God, this is not Christian Bale.
Yeah, exactly. So the portrayals like, right. Like, I think that lines up where, okay, maybe we shouldn't trust this author that was put on a pedestal for these type of stories anymore.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, we got a question here from John again. Thank you for being one of